Okay, we are back. Hello everyone, and as I promised, I'd do my UFC review of UFC 156. I'll tell you what, there are a ton of things that happened on this show that you don't normally expect, and usually when you don't expect them and they happen, there are these pleasant surprises throughout. And it looked like the tone had been set early on in the evening when Tyron Woodley, of all people, you know, the Strikeforce welterweight that everyone used to go around saying, oh, just grinds out a decision, goes for the takedown, just keeps it there, doesn't do anything else. When Tyron Woodley, in under a minute, knocks out and finishes Jay Horan, that kind of set the tone for the way the night was going to go. You know, always lots of surprises, lots of things that you didn't expect. But, I mean, what a night for Tyron Woodley. What a way to start off your UFC career. I'm happy for him. I actually kind of grew to like him after he lost to Nate Marquardt. And I never really liked him before. And I saw an interview with him, I think, after the Marquardt fight. And he kind of grew on me, actually. Bummed out that Ian McCall lost, obviously, because I'm a fan of Ian McCall. Always enjoyed him. I don't know where this puts him, but it looks like Benavidez, who gets the win, possibly will have a rematch with Demetrius Johnson in the future, which would probably be interesting. If they do that, I think they should do some of the flyweight fights on Fox to build that division up more before they put them on pay-per-view, because it's going to take a while, but that's just my opinion. Then we go into fights on the main card. John Fitch and Damian Maia. Now, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with John Fitch. I respect him as an athlete and as a fighter. I think he's a guy that you have to beat if you want to move up within 170. But at the same time, I don't know, there's things he's sometimes said that rub me, I'm just talking about me, the wrong way. And I didn't like the way he came across in one interview with Ariel Helwani, of all people, a year ago. I think it was before he fought Johnny Hendricks. And he kind of came off a certain way, like, you know, someone that was very comfortable in the position that he was in and quite condescending in some ways towards certain types of fans. And yeah, he fought Damian Maia, and Damian Maia looks so much better at 170 than he does at 185. He's gone right back to his base. He's not forgot what brought him to the dance. Yeah, you need to work on your other skills and your other dimensions, but Damian Maia on the ground is a master, and he basically John Fitch, and it's quite amusing when you think about that in that respect. And this is now Fitch's not second loss in a row. He lost to Hendricks, won in Brazil, and then lost again. So I don't know where this puts him. Maybe he'll fight whoever loses on the welterweight show in March. Maybe he'll fight someone who loses in that card, perhaps. Now, what else was there to talk about? Because we've talked about Fitch and Maia. Rashad Evans and Nogueira. Right, now, I like Rashad Evans. Rashad has grown on me over the last maybe couple of years. I think he can have entertaining fights. I think he's very capable. I think he can sometimes have fights that are a bit, not the most spectacular to watch. And unfortunately, this was one of those fights. I watched the first round, and usually I'm a little more patient with the first round because it's a feeling out process. And then the second round felt like the first round. And I think Rashad hit him with one light uppercut, but that was about it. And he kept catching his jabs all the time. And Nogueira just moved forward and threw punches all the time and threw a couple of kicks. And it was just a fight where nothing was going on, and Rashad did not look the way that he should look. And I remember when he came back after the layoff to fight Tito the second time, and he looked amazing in that fight. And for a guy that had a 5-week camp with Phil Davis, I felt he looked very good and very fluid in that fight. But it's like after the John Jones loss, he's doesn't know where he wants to be. And there was a lot of talk, and it seemed to be the theme throughout the night with two of the fights, of this guy's, not this guy's fighting this guy, it's what's going to happen after he fights this guy. And a lot of people talking about Rashad Evans and Anderson Silva, and that would be an exciting fight. But if Rashad looks like that against Anderson, then it's not going to be such an exciting fight. And it kind of sets him back now. And it makes us all wonder now, where does Rashad go next? because he was talking about possibly fighting John Jones or Anderson Silva, and now this sets him back, and people are kind of thinking, well, what's going to happen with Rashad? And Dana White's kind of implying that the fire went a bit and he needs to get that fire and hunger back. And then we move on to teammate Alistair Overeem and Bigfoot Silva. Now, this was a fight that should have happened in Strikeforce in 2011, and this would have been one of the tournament fights for the heavyweight Grand Prix. And on paper, back then, if you'd asked me, I would have said I favour Alistair Overeem, because Alistair Overeem is the more well-rounded striker and he's quicker. That's what I would have based my prediction on. And the fight was announced. Overeem gets his license after that year away from the sport with the suspension and everything. And it seemed to many people that even before Alistair's first fight was announced, it was a foregone conclusion that Alistair was going to win against whomever he was fighting and going to fight Cain Velasquez. And it seemed to be the theme that everyone was talking about. Alistair's going to beat Bigfoot, Alistair's going to beat Bigfoot, he's going to wipe the floor with him, and on paper you would think that. And the weigh-in happened, or the stare down that they had, and then they had the weigh-in. They were both a bit intense there, and Bigfoot Silva pointed out the thing of, are you going to respect me? And in the interviews he made an interesting remark that is kind of true about Alistair, where he said that if Alistair's okay when he's throwing and he's the one doing the giving you the shots, but when you put him under a pressure he starts to wilt a bit and he's a bit of a cat. He's no longer a lion when you come after him. And that was an interesting comment, and there have been times where we've kind of seen that. Obviously when he fought Arona and he was getting light strikes on the ground and he just tapped out from strikes. So the fight happens, and Overeem straight away, when the fight started, and let me rephrase this, Overeem looked extremely confident to the point of arrogance. He looked very, very cocky out there, and he has reason to be. He's got great skills, great striker, and there was some times when he was landing things and showing some more versatile strikes, but he was getting more and more cocky every time each strike landed, to the point where instead of having his hands up and chin down a bit, his hands are right down, literally right by his sides like this, and his head's like that, and he's moving forward at Bigfoot Silva. And Joe Rogan was pointing it out, and of course Mike Goldberg was pointing it out, and then afterwards Dana White was pointing it out, that that he was very arrogant in the fight, just like this the whole time, hands down, and landing some things, and then Bigfoot Silva was getting some things back on him. And then we get to the third round, and Alistair actually had him on his back, was inside his guard, and he was trying to land some things, but they didn't really have that much of an effect on Bigfoot Silva. Then the third round comes, and Bigfoot Silva charges right after him, and he starts landing a combination, and Overeem is not ready for it, and then bang, 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 and he's getting with it's like a flurry of punches, like a Wolverine Berserker Barrage from the old games, if you remember that game. And then he throws a head kick, bang, and he kicks him, and Overeem goes in the wall, bang, 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 starts hitting him some more, boof, boof, and I'm like, oh my god, and then bang, right on the ground. Overeem just hits the ground, and the whole place erupted, and I guarantee you a lot of people were stunned by that fight. And Bigfoot Silva, I mean, I'll tell you what, when Herb Dean is trying to pull him off and he's running back like a monster, like something out of a horror film, at him, and said something like, get up, fight me, get up and fight me, or something like that, I was like, oh my god, this guy's on fire. And I'll tell you what, I've kind of grown to like Bigfoot Silva too over the years. Seen him fight in Elite XC and seen him fight in Strikeforce, and he kind of won me over as time went on. And he fought Cain Velasquez, obviously, and he got blooded by Velasquez. He fought Cormier before that and got knocked out. And now, then he fought Travis Brown. And this is another person that I felt was arrogant in his approach with him and doing this stupid shit when he was fighting Bigfoot Silva. These stupid little dives all over the place, ended up pulling his hamstring and getting knocked out. And again, I think people underestimate him. He's not the most fast guy, and he's not the most, you know, reflex-based guy, but that motherfucker hits you, you're going to sleep, and he's done this quite a few times now. And he's outboxed Andrei Arlovski, and he beat Fedor, and he's beaten Overeem, and now there's talk as to what to do with Bigfoot Silva and where he goes next. And obviously, a lot of people are saying we'll do a rematch between him and Kane. And they could do that, but I wouldn't mind seeing him have one more fight. I would say that Cormier, if Cormier beats Amir, you might have to do Cormier and Velasquez if they would agree to it. And if not, put Bigfoot Silva in there. But you have to start looking at Bigfoot Silva after that, considering all the hype that Alistair Overeem was getting coming into this fight. You have to now look at Bigfoot Silva as a contender for the heavyweight title now. As for Alistair Overeem and where he goes, I think it's time to reevaluate and reassess some things. Overeem is a great fighter, but you don't fight guys and have that kind of arrogance in your head and just stand there with your hands down in such cocky fashion because you pay a price. And I know Junior Dos Santos loved seeing that if you saw what he put on there. And then we get to the featherweight title fight. Now, I said in my previous video, which will be in the description box in Life Lessons in MMA when I got to the very end, that I expect Aldo to throw a ton of kicks, and I expect Aldo to I expect it to be a great war. And I watched the fight, and I'm going to have to watch it again with Joe Rogan muted, because there's some controversy to some people as to who really won. Now, I would say Aldo won the early rounds, but Edgar looked like he got his timing very, very early, and he was not quitting, and Aldo couldn't put him away. And I would say rounds 3 and 4, Edgar definitely won, and I might have to go back and watch them. Now, a lot of people on Twitter put on their tweets, fighters and fans, that they felt that Edgar won. Benson Henderson even said he thought Edgar won, or implied that he thought Edgar won. And I think Aldo did enough, and it was a very close fight, that's the thing, and I'll have to watch it again. But I would say this, because Edgar has lost, I think Edgar would need to have a few more fights again to kind of... I felt that he should have had a few more fights at featherweight before they put him in there with Aldo. But I understand they need big fights and fights that are perceived as big, and Edgar and Aldo is a good style fight for us to watch. But I think that Edgar would have been better off fighting maybe 2 fights at 145 and then fighting Aldo. But then there's also the risk where, what if he loses one of those 2 fights and it's a setback? They had this with Krokop when they wanted Krokop and Couture back in the day. So I was quite pleased to see. Well, I think Edgar came away well than that, again showing how much heart and how tough he is. But I think what they should do now is have Edgar fight maybe 2 or 3 fights, rebuild himself, and then fight Aldo again. And I'll tell you what, it was a very close fight. Edgar seemed to have his timing down pretty quickly, and maybe with a few more fights the outcome would be a bit different. So I'm going to probably watch that fight again because I really need to. You tell me what you think about any of the events that have happened at this UFC show. Where do you think the winners go? Where do you think the losers go? What do you think of the comments made by Dana White in the press conferences about Randy Couture? That's another video we could talk about at some point. What about Anderson Silva? Who's he going to fight next now that Rashad Evans has lost? Because they looked like they were going to do that fight. Does Weidman actually now get the next shot? Who knows? You let me know what you think. You write some comments. I've just realised now that it is almost 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I've still not eaten breakfast or lunch now. So I'm going to have to run down to town and gorge now for the next 2 hours. And while I'm doing that, I look forward to reading your comments and let me know what you think. And I will be back probably tomorrow morning. So take care.